let's call the meeting order first of all. How about a roll call?
You're excited.
Okay.
You can stand if you like.
Nobody else see
Okay,
me.
we'll, roll call, Tom Duffy.
Here.
Stacy Hessel. Here. John Redheimer.
Here.
Brian Bissonette. Chris Russ.
Here.
You got a quorum.
Okay, how about certification?
Meeting has been noticed to the public and news media as required by section 19.84 of Wisconsin statutes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, the agenda is set. Anybody have any additions or corrections to the agenda? Now we'll move on to public comments. Now is the time for anyone who has any comments to make for items not on the agenda. This is the time to speak. We'll start, Mark, with you.
All right. I just wanted to let the committee know I'm interested in being a point of contact for the broadband project that's listed on agenda item 8A. I've been pretty involved with the broadband issues out at LCO. I'm working with Tara Gogley on some of the things that she's working on as the broadband project manager for LCO. I've also had a meeting out in Madison with the strategic initiatives coordinator with the Wisconsin Broadband Office. I was out there earlier this month for a conference and met with Jason McCallum on what's happening here in Sawyer County and surroundings counties with the broadband initiatives, and I'm very excited to see this kind of stuff move forward, and just want to be considered for that person for the county.
So how do we get a hold of you, Mark? What's your address?
Well, I'm here in Hayward at out on B, out of Famous Dave's property. And
But you have
my
For the
cell
record,
phone.
do you have a mailing address there?
Oh, yeah, it's on the slip that you have
Okay,
for the,
okay. All right, thank you. Anybody else want to be heard? Okay, let's move on then to minutes. And you've all had a chance to review the minutes. You make a motion to approve them. as
make a
presented.
motion.
John, okay, and Stacy, you second. I all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Very well, they're carried. Okay, then we'll go to a broadband. I'm gonna leave on that subject.
Yeah, I asked for it to be on the agenda, mostly just for the simple idea that Sawyer County adopted broadband forward a number of years ago. And as part of that, there's supposed to be a point of contact for the county, a single point of contact for people with broadband projects. I wasn't able to find who our point of contact is. So I guess I'm going to suggest until there's a better idea, I would like to be the point of contact and start working on broadband initiatives on behalf of the county.
Yeah, I think Bruce Paulson was earlier. Wasn't he?
Yeah,
Bruce Paulson was.
he was. So do we have a map of what right now has broadband, who doesn't have it, or I mean, it's really.
We don't have a map that I know of, but if you go to the PSC website, they maintain a map, and all the broadband providers are to be reporting in their coverage.
Okay, but our county is not completely covered.
No, we're not.
Are we half, 80%, 90%?
To what degree?
Yeah, to what level of broadband? I wouldn't want to give you an answer on that.
Okay, so what do you want us to do? Do you want us to?
I'll make a motion to appoint Andy as the
Okay,
point person for broadband.
Chris, you want to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Good. Okay, anything else? All right, Andy?
No, I'd just like to keep broadband on the agenda, and I probably will start reaching out to providers, initiating some conversations. I do anticipate, or they're anticipating, at the state level, there'll be another round of broadband grant funding in the fall. So I'd like to be prepared as to how we will support our broadband providers at the county level.
And I saw something just the other day from Washburn, one of the state assembly people down there, and he was talking about, I don't know if this was citizens or doing tests. It's like, where are you aware of that? So
Yeah.
like the grants that are available and that there's, I guess, I don't know what that means, but to test.
There's a statewide initiative right now through WEDC, through the State Economic Development Corporation, to encourage people. There's a website you can direct people to. I don't know if the EDC here has put that out there. but you want people to go to it, or the chamber has.
Yep.
Yep.
Mhm.
So you
That's
want people to go to that, and then they can log it, or they can input their broadband provider data, like who they're with, what their speeds are, that type of thing. And that's gonna hopefully prepare a better statewide map to show
Where it's lacking and
where it's lacking and who has what needs.
good.
So what I hear you saying is we don't have to spend all of our ARPA funds on broadband anymore. It's a state grant. We don't have to.
There is, this is just a initiative where they're getting people to report their information, so the state has better information on where the needs are. Whether the county wants to put more money into broadband, will be up to them. There will be more rounds of funding. And the broadband providers usually will be able to, unless they change the scoring system, will be able to compete for those monies better if they have local buy-in.
Very question. Well, you seem like the logical choice to be the point of contact, but I thought Sawyer County Economic Development was looking into doing a lot with broadband.
Our Sawyer County, you mean the LCO Sawyer County?
Yeah,
Now that Bruce isn't on there, they need a different point of contact.
yeah, so I didn't know if it was Bruce or if it was somebody else on there.
Bruce and Ed Peters. I just fill it in, but I'm not that broadband.
Yeah, the Development Corporation still work with them. And I think they had Bruce and Ed that were kind of cultivating the broadband interest out there. But just for our broadband forward ordinance, we needed to have a point of contact here. And I think we should be more involved in the discussion.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't have more than one point of contact, so.
No. I'm not aware of anybody else at the county government that is.
Yeah.
So how much money have we spent on broadband so far, and how much is left to spend to cover the county? I mean, where are we with this? Are we almost there, or not halfway there, or?
On the county, like just, or, I want to say, and don't quote me, you've obligated 800,000?
At least.
Yeah, at least that much out of the ARPA funds to broadband projects. Now, some of that is contingent. The most recent monies we allocated, those grants haven't been decided yet. But I know I just had a conversation last week, Mosaic, you obligated 400,000 to last year. They've got their grant and now they're looking to, they want the money. So we're actually looking at how to get the money out the door to them. So I don't, you've obligated a significant portion of your ARPA dollars to broadband. We still have about 1.5 that is unobligated ARPA funds, not that you need to put it into broadband, but that, I don't know how much more it's gonna take to cover the county or that's kind of what I want to reach out to the providers and talk to them,
Okay.
what their plans are for.
So we'll have that on the agenda for next month.
Yeah.
You're gonna kind of lead that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, anybody have any comments about that? All right, let's move on then with Sawyer County Housing Authority update on use of ARPA funds.
This is Sheila from
Okay.
Sawyer County Housing Authority. So just a reminder, we had requested 300,000 of the ARPA funds and were approved to use toward building two two-bedroom duplexes out at our Somerset Acres property. Since that time, we did get our loan through Shell Lake State Bank. We have about 380,000 available for construction from that alone. We have not received the 300,000 yet, but our builder is not ready until September. We have paid the down payment for that to get our slot on the schedule. He's still looking at September. When we originally approached the board with the project, the price was at 370,000 per building, and it's now at 376,000 when we did our final go through with the building prices or the lumber prices and such. So that's still all set to go. For other new projects that we're looking at, the town of Hayward will give us 50,000 of their ARPA funds to be used for a project in the town of Hayward. So we were looking at, back in July, we did purchase our office building property on Highway 63, and they had a couple other buildings on that property. And so we're looking at rehabbing one of the buildings and possibly turning that into an apartment. It's just a vacant, empty building. If we're not able to do that, then we're going to try to purchase property in the town or something to use for future building projects. overall, housing is still a huge problem in Sawyer County. Our vacancy rates of the units that we own are running like at 5.9% or so. And that's generally because units are vacant because of the lag time of turnover, because it's taking so long to order. You have to replacing kitchens or flooring, it's taking a long time to get all that done. Sometimes it's product, sometimes it's the labor issue. Of units that we're managing, we're at like a 0% vacancy. We're just down to 13 of those that we're managing since the Indian had sold those other units. We do have 5 VASH vouchers now, so just to get the word out, if you have any veterans that you know that are without housing, those are special use vouchers. So we do have some of those available. So if anyone knows of anyone, just refer them to our office. And then also, just wanted to point out that we have like 30 families with vouchers looking for housing in Sawyer County, and they've not been able to find places. So we're just kind of zipping right through our waiting list. We're encouraging people to kind of like look in Spooner or bordering counties, and they're still having the same issue or problems. So housing is still an issue. We've not heard of any other new projects other than the one that Steve French is doing on Highway B. And his is a matter of just getting them built. They're going as fast as he gets them up and running. So that's just my little update.
Good, thank you. Anybody have, committee have any
I
questions?
just have a question, maybe I'm asking, it's an obvious, it's an obvious question or an obvious answer to my question. So the housing shortage, is that people in Sawyer County that in essence are homeless, or these are folks that are looking to, they want to be in Sawyer County, but they can't because there's no housing? Is it both, or
It's kind of both.
do you have an idea of the percentage of?
No, I
Roughly?
don't. What we're seeing is we're working primarily with the lower income, but we do have some units that we just rent through to anybody. And we do still get a lot of calls for people that want to move to the area or they have jobs here. And
Right.
are looking for housing.
So then as we get to the reason for our committee here, the economic development, this ultimately leads to a lacking in workforce, I guess is what we're saying.
And we're still, there's a huge issue of landlords purchasing the properties that were rental units, and then they're treating them as investment properties, but they're increasing the rents. They're just, 60%. We're really seeing that, and it's pricing out of the market for just the normal working person,
Yeah.
at a lower income wage.
And is there a way to figure out where this impacts like the whole economic development of the county, meaning don't have workers, that equates to X amount of loss? Then we can better understand what we want to fund or not fund, I guess, right, ultimately, for housing, if it, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just the cost benefit, I guess.
The short answer is yes.
Okay.
Maybe when Sheldon comes on, we could query him. I mean, it would take me some time to figure out to quantify an answer for you, could be done. But I think what you're saying, she's saying is, that's what I'm hearing from other employers, or even we hear at the county when we hire people, is that. if you want-
Yeah, I mean, you hear it all the time. It's,
Yeah.
it's kind of just, it's there, but now what do you do about it? Or can't you even do anything about it? I mean, if the cost is, if it's justifiable, I guess we can find a way, right?
And find somebody that would build,
Right.
make sure that it's a,
Well, and I know too that, the zoning, it's a big issue with, well, what's it look like and who's coming in and there's crime and there's all those issues. But I don't know if you strategically did something that was nice and acceptable for everybody and then you satisfy the work shortage.
Yeah,
and
and
everybody wins.
it's the market, because I mean, it's not just here, it's probably a little more exacerbated here because of the investment property angle.
Yeah,
But there's an inequity across a lot of this part of the state. And even if you look to build something new, the cost to build right now is so much higher than what the rental rates you have to get for it. And then
Right.
matching it up with the wages in any area, it's not necessarily affordable.
right.
And then you look at the demand for building right now, well, there's a lot of market out there for builders to go after that has a lot more margins on it for building.
Yeah, and it's tough. And a more metro area would put up more of a condominium type, thing. I'm not sure that would fly here or even be justifiable
Right.
cost wise. So.
But I think maybe the planning commission has done some work in this area, maybe, and you could ask Sheldon when he gets on.
Okay. Thank you.
I did want to, it kind of reminded me that Independent Community Action Agency is looking at potentially trying to get somewhat of a consortium together of different housing agencies through several counties in our area, where they would be applying for grants, because that is our huge problem, is getting developers willing to come here for these little smaller projects. So if we can combine and get enough counties together and enough affordable units, that it would make it worthwhile to draw some interest. And then again, with the funding is always a problem when you're looking at smaller projects. You just can't get them to keep affordable rents with the cost of building and the cost of property. So hopefully that's something that comes through, and we're definitely interested if they do approach it. They just kind of asked right now if we would join something like that, and I said I'm sure that we would, so.
How many units do you have under that you control? How many are market? How many are subsidized?
We have 62 units of our own. 48 of those are subsidized. The rest are just general. And then we also have our voucher program, which is 197 vouchers of regular vouchers. Then we have a program that works with foster youth. But those are ones that rent through just the private rental market anywhere in Sawyer County. And we're only able to have 180 families on at a given time, just because of the turnover rate and people looking for housing, not being able to utilize all of them just with budgeting. Our per unit cost of our subsidy has gone up dramatically as well. And that's in part because the rents have gone up. So.
Brian, how is the housing problem out in the West?
Well, I mean, we do have a housing shortage without a doubt. That's one of the things that the tribe is addressing, using our ARPA funds. Right now, we're in the beginning planning stages of not only housing development project, which would be 28 homes, but we're also looking at a 32 unit apartment building that we'll be building. Because between the people that are homeless for whatever reason, we do have quite a few of them. But we also have a lot of professionals that want to come and work at either LCO school or the college. And I can think of probably 5 teachers that we've lost because it just couldn't find housing. And so, yeah, we're hopefully by this time next year, we should help alleviate the county problem.
And what are you using for funding then for those?
ARPA,
ARPA?
yeah, that and the tribe will be subsidizing through other funding sources that they have. So.
Okay, good. Anybody else have any comments?
And you have your own crew to do the work, to the build, the development?
Well, we do, but in the apartment building, we actually hired a design build firm. And so, you know, our like LCO development, we get a lot of sub work. Likewise on some of the homes. So, but
Chris,
yeah,
any comments?
one of the problems that I've been seeing out there is there's a couple investors that buying up everything in up in the Northwoods Beach area, and which is fine, it's good for them, but problem is, you know, the rent then excludes a lot of the people that would ordinarily be living in Northwood Beach, so.
Thanks, Brian. Chris, you have any comments?
No, I'm good.
Good. Okay, well, let's keep that on the agenda here. It's obviously a problem. Okay, let's move on then the fair. Anybody here from the fair?
I'm on the board.
Okay,
So,
what's going on with the fair?
well, we're having our barn dance this Saturday and invite every people to come out and join us for that. We have a lot of donations that came in for drawings and
That's a fundraiser for you?
yeah, that's the fundraiser for the fair.
Is that the
itself.
fairgrounds?
Yep, at the fairgrounds, in the cattle barn or in the livestock barn, since it's a barn dance, you might as well have it in the barn. So we have a band that's been playing there, and of course, lots of food and drinks and some games to play. They had I forget what they called it. It was like a goat bingo where you have a chance to bet on a square in a goat pen, and wherever the goat poops, that's the winner. So
Yep.
we were gonna use chickens, but with the bird flu being prevalent, no one's gonna bring their chickens in. So
Who's providing the music?
I forgot who that was. Rick set that up.
So that's this Saturday,
Yeah, this Saturday, starting at,
and the whole committee's invited, actually.
oh, yeah, of course.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Anybody else have any comments about the fair? Okay, let's move on then to extension. Lori. Is Lori here?
She was online.
I'll take that as a cue then. I'll try to be quick. Lori invited me, or you guys invited me, I guess, and Lori said she was gonna try to be online. She was. I think Lori has kept you well informed about extension and where extension is at in Sawyer County. I'm obviously part of that team. My name is Kevin Chesso. I have an office at the Spooner Ag Research Station. I know some of you, but I know with all the changes that have happened in the past with the new elections, and of course, coming off COVID, I haven't got to interact and see people for a long time. But I'm not here to give you a 2-year update of what I've been doing, but I just wanted to remind the committee of how I fit into this extension team here. Again, extension is outreach, education, service. So my areas of focus, of course, are on the education side, I do a lot of networking with different organizations and try to provide people with resources that the university can provide. In the past, I've done an awful lot in horticulture. We have a Master Gardener program. I think you've all heard of that. That has changed over time and numbers have dwindled. We're coming off of COVID, so some of those volunteers have stepped into new roles and we're kind of rebuilding that. We also have a grazing network that was started a number of years ago by my colleague Uw-Madison that's still up and running. They still depend on extension for education at some of their planned events. I also work with my colleagues in the county, primarily that would be food-wise educators. And I also do a lot with LCO College Extension and the College Farm. So those are just some examples of my partnerships, but I do soup to nuts when it comes to answering calls when people have questions about agriculture or horticulture. I do on occasion have conversations with the Land and Water Conservation Departments. Every county is a little bit different in their issues, but certainly I know Tim Seidel, and we have conversations about topics like this. So pardon me for my little dog and pony show here, but one of the things that I've been an advocate for a long time is soil. So this is just kind of a promotion for the soil conservation folks in the state who work with farmers. So I know it's maybe a little offensive, but the concept here is all of us need to keep in mind the soil and how that's connected to our everyday lives. I mean, all of our food originates from the soil, right? Sunshine, photosynthesis, this is just basic biology where I try in my everyday life to just keep people aware of that. Now, there's a lot of bigger issues than worrying about but what's beneath our feet. But at the same time, it's a resource that we all depend on. And there's this big push now, it's a term called regenerative. You can fill in the blank, regenerative what? Regenerative agriculture, regenerative gardening, regenerative, economic development, you name it, forestry, all these things we have to think about. How can we get, back to Mother Earth, nature and food is so important to our everyday lives. We take it for granted. The commodity farmers do what they do. They have all kinds of support. They're not necessarily calling me, but the average person who wants to have a garden in their backyard, all these people moving up here, they want to do landscaping, so I go back to that basics of where food comes from, local food. I've done a lot of different things over my 20+ years. working in this area. I'm just gonna pass these around quickly. You can take a look at it, just so you get a sneak peek at kind of what extension is capable of. We used to do, maybe we're not gonna do it the same way now because things have changed. But this is a meeting we held out at LCO a number of years ago for the Grazing Network. This is a conference. That organization is still planning on doing another conference. Here's me just doing my shtick at one of those conferences.
Younger than.
Yes, I do, and this is what COVID does. It turns you into something different. I also had the privilege to be on Wisconsin Public Radio on occasion. I turned down the gig up at Bayfield and Blooms this past week and gave it to my colleagues, but I do get to do that every once in a while. That's Larry Mueller with the Larry Mueller Show. I do a lot of hands-on outreach. I don't have a classroom. I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. I also do research and I also do service in the line of duty. How is that related to economic development? I go back to, we all eat. We all are looking to either to make money or save money, right? I've got a picture here. Hayward Farmers Market. Where did it used to be, right? Over where the new Quick Trip is, kind of in that development area. They've now moved and partnered with the Berkey and the Lumberjack Bowl. Extension was at the table to get this started 20 years ago. All right, so I'm not highly involved with that anymore. I have them on my email list. They're part of my contacts. The other part of what I do is with the horticulture, I have the privilege to work at the Spooner Ag Research Station, which is part of Uw-Madison. I know some of you anyways, before all the construction, maybe drove down Highway 70 going east, that way, west, right? The other west, towards Cyrus, right? You come off 53 and you head into Spooner. There's a National Guard Armory with the tank sitting out front. There's another set of brick buildings right before that. Spooner Ag Research Station, Uw-Madison, College of Ag and Life Sciences. I have benefited immensely from my partnership with the research station and doing projects and doing teaching from the property. I have developed, this isn't about me, it's just what happens when you just look for opportunities. I started this 20 years ago, and it's a teaching and display garden that's on the research station property, and it's open to the public. It's about a 1 acre spot. You can drive out to the garden and look at it right now. Right? During the winter, there's not much to see. There's a beautiful windmill, pumps water using no electricity, air pressure. So that's a real focal point, teaching point, but that's just an aerial view from a number of years ago. We have an endowment fund. It's all funded through fundraising, but it needs a manager, and that's kind of where I come in. We work with volunteers, we bring students out, but just like everybody else, it's harder to find that labor and students. We always had interns coming out, not so much. Then we got to hire local people, which is fine. But we struggle just like everybody else trying to keep all the wheels off the bus because it's, the world has changed, and we're just trying to do our best. This is just another picture of one of our highlighted events. It says right on there, our Twilight Garden Tour. It's the third Tuesday of the month in August. So we've had upwards of about 300 people come out to that. And it's just a big social and outreach event. We invite speakers from Uw-Madison, talk about all the different plants. And speaking of plants, just a little eye candy there. One of the other things that this display garden is, it's an official All-America Selections display garden. So these are the best of the best plants that the plant development people, that's what they call it, product development. So plant breeders and all the seed companies, you open up the seed catalogs, you see all this stuff. Well, it starts somewhere. We get to display some of the newest varieties. So this is a plant that they sent us as a little plug. We grow it out, we put it in the display garden, and I bet you someday it'll show up at our local greenhouses. This is a brand new introduction, and that's just part of product development in the plant world. So our garden is part of that. And we put these plants on display. We put a little label next to them. And this was just a little more exciting to show than some green tomato that looks like a green tomato, even though it's got some really crazy fruit or it's something unique about it. The other thing I do in the display garden and on the research station property is research. Now this doesn't mean anything to you right now, but these are plant stakes that will go out in front of a seed to kitchen plant breeding variety trial meant for gardeners. So not only do we do research on the station property with scientists and graduate students from Madison and staff, where you put in a big randomized complete block design with multiple replications, and you're collecting all this data and writing it into computers on the apps and all that stuff. We also solicit gardeners to help in that research through this project. So you get sent the seeds, you grow them, you plant your 3 plants in your home garden, or if you're a market gardener, and then you go to the app and you answer a couple questions and provide feedback to the plant breeders and the people in the project. So this is just some stakes that have all their information on that will go out in our garden. And then this is the only piece of information I'd like you to maybe take. All this other stuff can come back to me, but I don't have a piece of paper other than this is our little placard card for the teaching and display garden. Like I said, it's open to the public. So you want to take one of those and give it to somebody, that's fine. If you're interested, keep it and understand why, what it's there for. So I guess I could talk a lot more about all the different, things that have happened in the last several years. Agriculture is changing. It's interesting. You talked about the investment with housing and investors. Same thing's happening with agricultural land. I don't know how much of it's happening in the Hayward or Sawyer County, but it's definitely happening in Washburn and Burnett. We've got investment companies buying up agricultural land, holding it as an investment, just like you would a building, right? A commercial property, whatnot. Their goal is to extract whatever return rate is reasonable for their portfolio. It's not 20–40% return, but they're happy with 2 or 4 or 5. So it's just the way the landscape has changed. As ag land, just like everything else, it's a limited resource, and people know it. So that's something our farmers have to contend with too, because now price goes up. And whatnot. So there is still a lot of interest in local foods, small enterprises, with the advent of the internet, online marketing. There's a lot of people now doing, instead of like direct sales off your farm or coming to a farmer's market, you can sell directly online, right? So just like anybody who makes soap and does other kinds of, small business niche things, you can sell stuff online. So it's just a very dynamic. Agriculture and horticulture has always been that way. But I do what I can. I do teachable moments wherever possible. And a lot of it is one-on-one, phone, internet. During COVID, I took the opportunity to dabble in YouTube. It's interesting, all the YouTube you see out there now. There's a lot that has to happen behind the scenes before that's posted online, let me tell you. I mean, just with the equipment and mics and wind, and especially if you're outside. But you get that stuff out there, at least now it's part of our toolkit. You never know what's going to happen with this stuff. It sits there for a long time, and then all of a sudden, bam. I had 2 videos on pruning grapes that did that, and now I'm getting comments and questions coming from wherever, right? But it's just another tool we have to help promote and to help educate people about any number of topics. So, like I said, I don't want to capitalize on your time. Lori said you like to keep the meeting moving. Is that right? Yeah. So, is there any questions?
Just the spelling of your last name.
Yeah, sure. If anybody wants this goofy business card with the since we got bought out by Madison, we have a new logo, and they gave me a title that I don't think is necessarily something that I go out and promote, but technically I'm listed as an associate professor with Uw-Madison's Division of Extension. But I'm just an educator trying to help people think critically and use research-based information and help our communities. One tomato at a time, or one cover crop at a time. So appreciate your time. And
Thank you, Kevin.
I have an open door policy.
Yeah.
If I'm in the office, you can just stop in and see me anytime.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. We'll move on. Just remember, don't farm naked.
Right, see, you learned it.
One thing you take today is like, okay, then let's move on to the Hayward Lakes.
Okay. Sherry Beckman, I gave you guys a report. Got some of our spring campaign stuff's already been, done. One thing that we started is a kind of a local PR campaign. We're really trying to get everybody to recognize what Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau does, because so much of it we do out of the area. So we started a radio campaign, and then now I've been submitting an article to the Story County Record and the Story County Gazette. Just once a month, they're gonna have us do that. So the new kind of, and I don't know how, it's new to me, but anyway, they're called influencers. They used to be travel writers is what they were called. They would come to the area and then they write about you. Well, now we have to pay for those people to come, and they're called influencers. So these are some of the influencers that are going to be coming, and these are the dates that they're going to be here. So it's a lot of coordination of them getting here and doing the things that they want to do and they want to write about. So that's been really fun. You get a lot of different people. Last week, so if we go down to the Department of Tourism, so they offer a lot of projects too, and we work very closely with them, and they have an email blast. This is the first time we've tried this. So we had some writers and photographers here last week, and they went to Wilderness Walk, the Hall of Fame, and then they did some fishing on the Chippewa Flowage. And that will go out to all of the people who signed up for an email through the Department of Tourism, through the state. And that will go out the end of this month. And then we finally, I think I've told you guys about this arrivalist data that we've been, anyway, so this Department of Tourism offers this arrivalist data. What it is if you see a Wisconsin ad, wherever you are, it will track you, which is creepy, but it's really good for us. It will track you, and it'll tell you if you came to Wisconsin and where you went in Wisconsin. So we got the first quarter, and so the top 3 markets of people who saw a Wisconsin ad and then came over to Wisconsin to Hayward were from Minneapolis, La Crosse, and Duluth. So this was for the winter. This was January, February, and March. February was the most visits, of course, I'm assuming because of Berkey. And then Friday was the most popular day that they arrived. But we are going to get this data for the whole year, and then we get to compare it to the last 3 years. So we'll get to go back to 2019 before the pandemic hit. So it'll be very interesting to see how all these numbers correlate. And so it's really exciting data. And then it kind of helps because La Crosse is not an area that we've really hit very hard. And now we're going to have to relook for winter. Why we got to figure out why was La Crosse so high. Was it because they didn't have snow? Was it because we did a campaign? We got to try to figure out why they're coming. So this is really good. This is really good for marketing. And then we also decided, because we're all struggling with our name, with Hayward Lakes Visitor and Convention Bureau, and it seems like a lot of things are changing, even like with the state. It used to be the Wisconsin Visitors and Convention Bureau Association. Now it's Destinations Wisconsin. So we're kind of going through some, do we need to rebrand? What are we going to do? So we did the SWOT analysis, which I kind of touched a little bit on last month. And so what we decided to do is we're going to apply for a Destination Marketing Development Grant. And Andy, you did one of those, didn't you? So I may be calling you and getting some advice from you, just to kind of figure out, what we want to do, what we want to be called, what is good for the tourists, what they think of. We have Hayward Lakes and almost everything we advertise with, but when we look at the data, Hayward is what they're looking for. That's what they're researching. Lakes is never a part of it. So we got to kind of figure out how to get to the people in the right way. And then our website redesign, I know I've been talking about that for 6 months, but it is supposed to launch on June 15th. We've got everything in, we're just cleaning it out, getting all the little little things worked out, and hopefully in 2 weeks we'll launch that. And then we had our last big meeting with the VCB, and the board has decided they wanted me to request 50,000, which we have done in the past. And just to give you a little bit of history, I put down here what year and how much we received from the county in funding, just for your, I just went back to 2005, but we can go back further if you're interested in that. And then we had outstanding PR this last couple months. This is stuff that is free, that people are out there talking about our area and no one paid. They just were interested in what we were talking about or what we're doing. And they came and either wrote something or did a TV interview or something. So we get a lot of nice coverage. Love Hayward. The media.
Thanks, Sharon.
I'm gonna butcher the name, and I'm on the ad hoc committee. Is it Northwest Regional Economic Development?
Northwest Regional Planning,
Yeah.
Sheldon.
Northwest Visions.
The one that met at Flat Creek. Yeah, Visions.
I think you're in Northwest
Yeah,
Vision.
Northwest Visions. Do you work with
Visions
them at all,
Northwest,
or-
sorry about that, yeah.
No, I think the Chamber of Commerce is on the visions.
Okay. You do a good job explaining what you do.
Okay,
Trying to figure out what these other groups do, so.
yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Sherry.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on quickly to Northwest Regional Planning. Sheldon, thanks for your patience.
Yeah, no problem. I did hear you all say quickly, so I'll try to do that. There we go. Good morning, everybody. Apologize for not being there in person, but I just wanted to give you all an update on some stuff that's going on here at the Planning Commission, and then to provide some feedback on some of the conversation that you've been having today. So I just wanted to identify a couple of projects that we're working on within the county. So we're working with the town of Hunter on a comprehensive plan update that will be started in about a month and a half, 2 months with the town. It'll be a rewrite of their current comprehensive plan. So just a legislative 10-year update. Also too, we are happy to announce that the bounce back program that we've been managing in partnership with WEDC, it was set to expire on June 30th of this year. Governor Evers has added some additional funds to the pool, and that has now been extended to December 31st of this year. We've been managing the program for the last year or so, and happy that we have an additional 1.5 million available yet to provide to businesses who are occupying or who would go to occupy vacant commercial space. So we've got that application information out there, and I know it's been distributed throughout the community of Sawyer County. To date, we've done, as of May 18th, we have funded 20 businesses that have moved to vacant commercial space in the county, and we still have some additional applications in-house that we're reviewing for Sawyer County specifically. One change to that grant application, there is a new 400 square foot minimum for businesses that are occupying commercial space. They have to have at least 400 square feet minimum to qualify for the program. Just wanted to jump back to the speed test and the broadband conversation. If you've been on your laptop, you've seen an email from Lynn already with that speed test information. She forwarded that out to all of you while you guys were talking. I was doing a little bit of emailing with her. So the speed test is a statewide effort that WEDC and the Regional Economic Development Organizations, Visions Northwest being that one, is pushing that out with the Planning Commissions in partnership. So it's available for businesses and homeowners. So if you're at home or at your business location, go to that link that's included in the speed test. What it's going to do is going to look at what your speed is uploading and downloading for your test. No, I'm not running a snowmobile on my back window here. It's so if you hear that, it sounds it's someone running an air compressor. But that speed test is for us to be able to access potential, not us necessarily, but you, to help you identify what your speeds are throughout the county. One of the nice features of that speed test is it allows a representative of Sawyer County to access the back-end data of the speed tests that are being done, so that somebody could internally to the county could go in and look at the data, and you can also price module out what extensions of broadband would cost for certain segments of the community based on where broadband is currently located. So it's something that we currently only have. Iron County is the only county that is currently signed up to access the backend data. But eventually, maybe working with Andy or somebody else in the county in your IT department, that could be something that would be a useful tool for the county and for the community. So we would encourage you, if you haven't already, push that information out to the folks that you know. We'd love to try to get more data points for Sawyer County. Continue to work with Town of Sand Lake on their food pantry and the CDBG community COVID funds that they received. They've had a lot of persons accessing that facility. Currently working with Mark Helwig and others on the committee to make sure that grant, all those grant funds are expended, and also to see if we can get an extension or additional dollars for that project. Just want to make everybody aware that the Planning Commission is having their annual meeting. So Tweed Schuman and Ron Kinsley are the two commission members for the Planning Commission. You're all welcome to attend as well as guests. So that meeting is on June 29th, end of this month at 9:30 over at Flat Creek Lodge. If you're interested in attending, either contact me directly or Shauna Lindstrom in our office to register for that. There's no cost. We'll have some speakers for that. We've got coming in tentatively scheduled Secretary James Yak from the Secretary's Northern Division, DNR, WISDOT, Tim Mason. We've got Julie Lassa, State Director from Rural Development, coming to speak. And then we have a presentation from a land conservation representative from Douglas County, talking about agricultural enterprise areas. Douglas County and a couple other counties have received those designations for agricultural enterprise projects. And then a couple other things on the agenda as well. Then lastly, just wanted to let you all know that we've hired a new staff member to the organization, Megan Mader. Megan lives up in the Sawyer County area, originally from Price County. We've hired her. She actually starts today and is here today. So she'll be doing we're gonna do some outreach for lakes planning and working more directly with lakes associations. So I know there's lots of lakes associations in Sawyer County. We've already got some stuff going on with Lake Association here in Washburn County, but we're looking to expand that services that we've done. We have had done quite some time ago, but we're looking to expand that opportunity for communities here in Northwest Wisconsin. Those are the short list for what I've got to present today. And thanks for letting me join virtually.
Thanks, Sheldon. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Yeah, Sheldon, earlier we were talking about housing demand and shortage of housing. Has the Planning Commission done any work at looking at what the demand on housing is in the region and some of the imbalance in the cost to build new housing versus wage rates and affordable rents?
Yeah, we haven't done anything project specific, Andy, and committee folks. Your comments that were being made during that session are paralleling what everybody else is talking about. I know Ashland County and Bayfield County have a pilot project that they're working with WIDA with an H, on looking at workforce housing. They're about 3 months into their pilot project. That project is supposed to wrap up late this fall, early winter. And that will be a good template that I think most of our counties in Northwest Wisconsin can look to for models, examples of development of workforce housing. I mean, I've heard it from other counties as well, the conversation that you've all had about the ability or the inability to construct homes that are affordable, in part because of the price of land and more importantly, the price of materials. They're looking at trying to access LIHTC, tax credits, how they can do that. Not every community is willing to drop in a 50-unit affordable housing complex. If you look to Iron River was looking to do some affordable housing That got shot down just in the last couple of weeks. City of Washburn a few years ago tried to do the same. So there's a lot of the concerns that residents have when you start talking about low income or workforce housing, that they don't want it. You know, they don't want it anywhere close to them. You know, again, you know, all what I'm talking about, it's the NIMBY, not in my backyard, concerns that people have. It's an issue. I wish there was a silver bullet on how we could figure out to change that. But right now, market forces are what they are. Contractors can make more money building $500,000+ houses, not $180,000 houses. So that's kind of where the market's tilted.
Thanks, Sean. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Shelley? Okay, thanks, Sean.
All right, thank you all.
Okay, let's move on to the libraries. Who wants to go first? Molly.
Oh, are you missing was that the economic development?
Oh, I'm
Jesse
sorry.
just she said she was gonna make it, but I don't see her here, so she must have had it.
Okay,
Okay, thank you. I'm Molly Lang Jones, the Public Library Director here in Hayward. And I sent the report, but I had a couple highlights to point out. My assistant director was awarded the 2022 Wisconsin Library Association. They call it Para-Librarian of the Year. She has multiple degrees, but it's not in library science. So they call it para instead of librarian, but that's for the whole state. And I'm very proud of her and she deserves it. And we're always looking for ways to save money, but we had a total surprise. I did not even instigate this particular situation, but Jack Links got a hold of us a couple weeks ago and offered to donate up to 300 3-day passes as summer reading prize incentives. And then as a grand prize, they're donating a month's worth of membership for an entire family. So everybody who signs up, whether it be a child, a baby up to an adult, can get a free 3-day pass. And an interesting thing you'll find, Sherry, is that Jack Links said that the most people who go there are from Hayward.
Are you
So-
talking about the Aquatic Center?
Yeah,
Okay. I
yeah.
just wanted to, that was.
Thank you.
Yep.
Summer reading has begun and we're already getting more children in the library. We're trying to hold most of the programs outside. And the weather hasn't fully cooperated yet, but now it looks pretty good. And let's see. Oh, the Hayward Library Foundation has an evening at the golf course with appetizers and beverages for the author Carrie Casey. And he just recently came out with a book called The Wager that is centered in Hayward at the golf course. And the ranch restaurant I know is in the book. I'm still trying to get my hands on a copy to read it, but on June 15th, there will be an evening with the author. So we're looking forward to that. Those are kind of the highlights this month.
good, thanks, Molly. Anybody have any questions?
A quick question. Is it Northern Waters Library? How do you interact with them? What role do they play with you?
They're kind of the watchdogs. They make sure that, I think it's either 28 or 29 libraries are in our system. And Donna's librarian Winter is also a member. And they make sure that we're provided with ample continuing education because we have to be certified as directors, similar as teachers are. And they are very knowledgeable on the law. We consult with them frequently. We have meetings at least once a month. And what else would you say, Donna? They just,
yeah, they're actually like a resource to make sure that, all of our libraries, whether it's a larger library or even a small one like mine, offer really the same, get the same opportunities to offer the same to our people. So it's a lot
Equitable
of
services.
equitable services, inclusive services. It's a lot of trainings that they provide. And I've used them for situations that have come up, and I wanted to make sure we follow what DPI statutes are so that we stay certified as a library.
So a resource to you. I mean,
Mhm.
I went in the one meeting, I think what I took away was the bookmobile, and now it's turned into a mail order thing. That was kind of a big.
So there are people who don't fall under our service area. So, like little pockets of, places that don't have library services or a library close to them. So Northern Waters also helps fill those gaps or those.
Hearing that it's a resource for you helps me, and I'm new, I'm just trying to figure things out, so, but, they're looking like for $30,000 from Sawyer County, they'll be asking, and my immediate thought was in the drive home from Ashland was, well, I don't understand, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm trying to understand how it affects the two of you, how it affects the county, and is that $30,000 spent just giving it to you, if we give it?
Oh, no, because I will tell you, and do you mind if I answer?
No,
Sorry.
no.
This is how I explain it to my library board. The technology that's out there, they have technicians, 2 technicians. I call them up with
North
just a
Waters.
simple, Northern Waters.
Right.
I call them up with a simple tech issue, they answer it right away. You know what I mean? And they help do things like that. Then we have interlibrary loan librarians up there that help us, make sure if I have a patron in winter that needs materials from a different library, that they make sure that that connection is made. And not even just in our Northern Library service area, but across the state.
Mhm. And
So-
they provide a delivery service
Mhm.
for us that connects us with.
So
the
you,
rest of
you,
the
in
state.
essence, you're saying that, I'm not making that decision, it would be the
Right.
board when they ask for it. $30,000, you think is a good investment with them versus like, my example, we just giving it
If
to you.
I hire a technician, I'm paying a
Mhm.
no.
lot of money that I
Right.
couldn't do otherwise.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's helpful, thank you.
Okay, do we have a report then from Winter or?
Oh, yeah, I'll do it really quick. So we're doing our summer library reading program for youth. We have one for adults. We try to pull in partnerships from the community, to help with prizes and donations. And we have a master gardener that has planted with the local school district a garden out behind the library, which we do a themed garden every year. And so the students think about what kind of garden they want to plant. Like last year, I think it was a pizza garden. So they planned out what kind of toppings they can grow in the garden. And then we have a party at the end of the year, harvest the vegetables and make the pizza and eat. We have outdoor family movie nights 3 times this summer. Our first one's coming up this coming Sunday. And the library provides, popcorn, water, whatever, but it's trying to get families together and doing family things. Fundraisers, we're constantly fundraising. We just had Spring Fling and Winter, which is just a Main Street craft fair. We had a food booth, our book sale, we have raffles, and our biggest thing is our 10K and 2-mile color run, which is July 4th. And we have about 150 erasers for that. So it's a big thing for a small library with 3 part-time people to do, but we get it done. And like I said, we do ask the county to fund libraries, but I want to tell you that we do try, Molly and I know LCO, and we all try to do our part in fundraising outside of county funding as well. And I want to give you a basement update because I know I've talked about that before the last 4 months. I did meet with Ken Pearson from Northwest Regional Planning, and they do have a possible way of helping us fund the full $26,000 with a 0% loan. Or 0% interest. So loan. So I'm sending in the paperwork actually today. Yeah, took a month for me to gather all the information needed. Our backup plan is our local bank did offer to give us a very low interest rate because we have funds in our savings account, so we can borrow against our savings account basically. But we don't want to deplete all our funds in case another emergency comes up. Because when you're doing small fundraisers where you get $1,000, maybe $2,000, a big problem that comes up takes a long time to replenish that. So that's where we're at.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on then to motorized trail.
Hi, I'm Kathy LaRue with Sawyer County Snowmobile and ATV Alliance. I'll try to keep this short, but I do have some data that's interesting. All the ATV trails have been open since May 13th. A lot of large groups on the trails. Last weekend was the DNR free trail weekend, so out of state people didn't need to buy a trail pass. There's a lot of people on the trails. There's been an increase of large ATV benefit rides. This last weekend, the Muddin for Kids event went on. They had over 100 registrants. It's the 6th year they've done that. They donate the proceeds to Christmas for Kids. And I think over the 5-year period that they've done this, they've donated just under 20,000. There's other ones that go on throughout the season as well. The Alliance Trail Counters, this is kind of interesting data. Hopefully for future reports, I'll have some printed data for everyone to see. But for today, the Trail 77 at Lake Helene Road up in the Sealy Hills, that counter's been there for 20 days. It had 758 counts, or in other words, 38 hits a day. The one in Tuscobia, I placed in Radisson. It's been out for 17 days. It had 1,070 hits, so about 63 a day. And here's the interesting one, Trail 3 at Osprey Creek Bridge, 3,319 hits. It's been out for 21 days. It's about 151 a day. That the Trail 3 proves to be a major connector between the north and the south trail systems. I mean, that gets a lot of traffic. So let's see, some other interesting data. I did get my reports from the DNR, the 2022 ATV and UTV registrations. In 2021, the total registrations were 453,885, and that works out to 5,076 were in Sawyer County. In 2022, that number jumped by 22,398 to 476,283. 5,312 were registered in Sawyer County. If I go with the 2021 census population for Sawyer County, that works out to one in every 3.4 Sawyer County residents has a registered ATV or UTV. It's a high demand for, especially the side-by-sides. They're difficult to get. It's a 4 to 6 month waiting period. They far outsell the ATVs, you know, the ones you straddle. The increase in numbers benefits a lot of different people because through the recreational trail program where we get our funding for trail maintenance, it benefits both motorized and non-motorized sports. So I'll just keep it at that unless you have any questions. I have a lot more to say, but let's just.
Good, thanks, Kathy. Any questions?
That counter you got on Osprey Creek, is that on the bridge off Tripper Trail?
Right at the intersection of 3 and 30, when you start heading up 3, right before the bridge.
Do you guys get a lot of complaints on that trail from Indian Lake to Grinnell Lake? Rocks?
Yeah,
It's pretty rough through there.
it's very rough, and we need to get up there and do some signing because there's been some logging going on and people are driving down the logging roads because they don't know where the trail is. And they get lost, and that's not a good area to be lost.
Right.
So.
No, I've noticed that uptick in traffic by my place on E because they're not using that trail. You know, it's so rough that they're just going around and
Right, and then
taking
they
the
go
highway.
down Colonel Lake. And
right, or even they'll go
just
all the way down to
bypass
N
it.
even, yeah, and just
Yeah.
bypass it all.
Right,
So I'm in charge of the trails out there. I had the wardens go through, must have been
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. And so we know we need a lot of work out there. We do have a dozer. But with all the other projects we've had going on, I can't dedicate anybody to run the dozer over the trail. I don't, on that stretch from Gurno to Indian Lake, it's so dang, I don't know. It's almost like we create more damage than we do good. I mean, there's just so many rocks.
So
there.
Well, so big,
Those
it's
rocks are keeping the dirt there. It's a problem. If you remove those rocks and bulldoze that, we'd have to come up with some solutions for drainage. So
Right.
you're gonna just erode that entire hillside away. By the way, there is another pine tree down on Blueberry Fire Lane.
I think we cut.
That's
another
a different
We cut
one.
the-
It's, yeah,
cut
I
the
see the one that was cut out, but there's another one
There's a
between.
culvert out too, isn't there?
It's this one, this tree that's down is located between the culvert and the S curves, when the S curve
Yeah.
starts. So you'd have to come at it from Helsing Road.
Okay.
You can drive an ATV around it, there's enough room, but a car isn't going to get through there.
Take care of that right now.
Get somebody on it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
I'm good.
Okay, I've got a quick report on the rookie. The cement work is in on the bleachers on Lumberjack Pole, and the erection of the aluminum bleachers started yesterday. They'll be done in 10 days. This past week, they had a happy mountain bike race that had 1,100 racers. And the rookie registration as of Friday was 5,600. They're on pace for 11,000 for the rookie race. So that's the news.
That epic has really grown, hasn't it?
Yeah, really.
I remember when it was just
Yeah.
spattering at people.
John, I've got to go to court, so you finish it up. Okay, so I think we're on then with the historical. or- sorry, anybody here? Historical?
No, I did speak with Donna Yackel again last month and said that they really need a representative in here, but
Keep on it. And
I
then
will.
only come every other month or?
I did
quarter?
explain that, yeah. And I will see her a week from tomorrow. I'll make note of it again.
Okay, any for future items?
I've got a couple that we've already mentioned during the meeting, so we'll have those up.
That's it. Thanks for coming.
You made it.
Thank you.
I've been in charge for like